Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you here, and what a great time to have you here for you guys. So much happening in your world right now, which we will come to. But before we get on to any of that sort of stuff, why don't you just tell our audience who you are, what your company is, and what it does. Just give us a quick rundown.
Yeah, sure. So Gary Zurnamer, co-founder and CEO at Vouch. We're a video platform for really collecting video content, editing and sharing it. So it's all done remotely or through the browser. I guess the technical term is asynchronously.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, to unpack that a little bit, it means that you can send someone a link with multiple questions and guidance, and then that person answers the video one by one, and you get this really beautiful, usable piece of content back that you can edit and share for testimonials, employer brand stuff, recruiting, team communications, kind of unlocking video for business.
So you need to go and see KPMG High Growth Ventures.
Yeah.
They came and saw me on Monday, and we did exactly that kind of thing, but they didn't use your product, and it was all very fumbling around.
Yeah, brilliant.
And we did it for 2 hours. So I will introduce you to them after the show.
Yeah, tick, done. How was that?
And yeah, that was exactly the style they were doing.
Really?
That was
brilliant.
I didn't know what they were going to do, but they came, and it took quite a long time. And a few videos of me walking down the street, which was weird. But
yeah, they could have sent that too. You could have done it when you were ready in your own time with some guidance, and would have made your life a lot easier.
Definitely doing that intro.
Amazing.
Cool.
Love it.
So how long has it been around? How long have you been around?
So we launched, our beta product in March 2021.
Yeah.
We were sort of, working away at beta, which was our MVP, for a few months before that. That launch was early, like we made the call to launch quite early.
2021, it's a good year to launch something like this. I mean, we love video here, obviously, but it was a lot of uncertainty, so you got to have some balls to do that.
Yeah, it was, it felt like the right time for the product and the problem.
Yep.
Everything went remote, which was kind of a tailwind that was good for us. But even since then, we've seen like the sustained, I guess, ongoing usage of video remotely and whatever it might be. So the tailwinds have stayed with us, which is great. But yeah, we didn't know where it was going to land, but it was a good time to launch.
It's interesting you talk about that. Video has exploded.
Yeah.
Like we launched this in COVID, and the reason we did video was because everyone else was doing podcasts, and we thought, well, we've got to do something a little bit different. Yeah. But I think the uptake of video in every aspect, we use it a lot in obviously the way we've recruited. We've been using video in recruiting for years, but it's just popped up everywhere. And I think COVID has just made everyone so comfortable with it. That's the biggest difference, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was inertia around recording yourself or talking to a camera pre-COVID. Like we had the video conferencing, but people were getting more and more comfortable. And today it's kind of like free for all, right?
Everyone's a creator.
Correct.
Everyone's a content creator.
Correct.
And everyone wants the video.
Correct. And the quality of devices is helping that as well, right? So people can record on a phone. It's super high quality. So
we've got Heo, my head of content's got this little microphone he plugs in the end of his iPhone, and the quality is insane. And it was like $60, $70 or something. So
yeah, it's awesome.
So you said the problem. So tell me what were you doing before, and what sort of. So 2 questions, actually. We'll break it down into one. Where have you sort of come from, and what made you start your own business? Was this your first business?
I had a failed app development business when I was 18.
We don't have to talk about that.
Plenty of learnings, but yeah, it was good.
I don't ever do any research on the guests because I want to find out during the show. Otherwise, I'm kind of pretending to be surprised about things.
Absolutely.
So I never know anything. So tell me what you were sort of doing before, and then what prompted you to go out and start a business during the first global pandemic in our lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good when you put it that way.
You're absolutely right. I guess going back out of uni, I went to the NRL as a digital marketer. So I was at uni. I kind of went in at 19 and they said, like, here's this thing called Facebook and Twitter and just go figure out content. Just kind of gave it to the youngest person in the room. Yeah. So I was like, there's 100,000 followers on Twitter, and sort of they had 250,000 people on Facebook.
Wow.
And they were like, go figure out content basically. And sort of looking back now, what I realized we did instinctively was clip up parts of the game into short form video. Okay. And we were looking for the most engaging angle, and sort of we natively went to short form video as a team. So I built that out over sort of a year and a half, and then I went to the Iconic as a marketer. So I'm a trained marketer.
Were you there when it was just a big warehouse? Yeah. And everyone just came in, and it was chaos. And Zanui was in there, and who else was there? Was another one in there?
Correct. It was just like a rocket internet.
I used to recruit for them, and they'd say, just send them in any time. And I'm like, no, we need to, no. And then
nowhere to wait. Like
couldn't find anyone. Clothes racks flying around. It was madness.
Chaos. Yeah. I had like an electrical wire that was dangling.
Yes, they all came down from the street. God, that would have been fun.
Yeah. I mean, as a 21-year-old, at that time, I was like, hell yeah, man, give me electrical wire. It's like just a fold-out desk. Yeah, there was amazing stories out of that. But that was really around sort of go and create content and build out the sports offering for the Iconic, and how do we land brands through content. So again, we lent on video there, and then Went to London for 5 years and worked on the brand side and agency side on large brands. Again, content creation and video. And then I went to Stackler, which is an Aussie tech company, basically around user-generated content. So how do you showcase consumer, products through the eyes of the consumers versus models?
I don't know that business.
Yeah. So it was good. It was there for 5 or 6 years, and then I came home and landed up at Canva, sort of scaling the enterprise function. And while I was there, Canva's got this incredible prosumer product and this amazing brand they built, but we had this enterprise product to take to market, and there wasn't as much sort of proof or trust around sort of, is Canva an enterprise product? I've used it for myself, but how do I apply it to my business? And so we sort of thought about, okay, how do we scale customer stories as the first point? And then, we had this incredible video team, but they were tied up doing other stuff, and we had these international customers, but we couldn't get video from anyone really. And so we were sort of trying to record Zooms and getting people to record selfies. We sent it like remote production agencies out, but it's just not scalable.
No, it's expensive.
And I was sort of there and I was like, I think there's probably something here. If Canva's struggling with it, then others are probably struggling with it. So that's kind of where the impetus for Vouch started, and we rolled on from there. But.
So not only did you start a business during a global pandemic, you left Canva, probably the only person who ever left Canva. You left the most desirable, arguably at the moment, company to work for to start your own business. That's how's that feel?
The first quote in the article that just came out was from my wife. He said, like, why? Basically, like, why? But it was one of those things where I looked around and Canva was an exceptional place to work. I kind of always wanted to drive forward and do something, and I felt like this aligned perfectly with my background as a content creator, as a marketer. There's all this sort of in-browser video technology capability now that you can scale quite quickly, and so everything just married up, and we thought it was time to go. So
what we've just talked about really highlights the conviction you had and the belief, right? Which is something you have to have if you're going to start a business. For you to do what you did in that situation from what you did, that just completely highlights. And you've got one co-founder?
Correct. I was going to say my conviction was tripled by meeting David, our co-founder. I was, as a commercial person, I was like, look, I think there's something here, but technically the business, we needed to scale this thing quickly, and people expect videos to be fast and scalable and stream perfectly. And when I met David, it was a beautiful moment, but we sort of had coffee and it was like...
a bit like us.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly. And I said to Dave, like, I think this is where it could head, and this is, we've seen that expansion happen naturally, but, he's got an incredible background of sort of like 25 years in technology in Australia, and he was at a fintech company, and he said, look, I think there's something here. We're starting with testimonials as a wedge because it's such an important space for people, the sort of voice of the customer. But Dave always had this vision alongside me as well, which is it could be much larger and more horizontal. And so meeting him opened that up, and he's been integral to the process.
Cool. How good. So you launched your beta product, just over a year ago. You got a big announcement that's just happened, which you can talk about in 1 second, but before you tell me, because I'm sure you're dying to talk about it. What sort of happened in that first year? What did you do? Did you grow? How did you fund that first year? Did you bootstrap it? How did that sort of work?
It was I guess the base of that whole year was talking to customers. Before, we didn't want to build this thing in a bubble and sort of assume what people needed. I think it's easy to do that in tech. You can just
people do that.
Just go and say, this is what I want to build. So we went and validated the thinking around, hey, is there something here where if you had an alternative to what you're doing today, which is, really expensive, or if it's not quite scalable, what would that look like? And we iterated, and the MVP came from the customer world, I guess. And then we did get some early angel funding from some strategic people that we wanted to bring around the business early to help us. So we raised capital from people at Canva and Microsoft in the US. One of our angel investors was the former CPO at Calendly, which is that two-sided booking link. And
it's everywhere now,
It's amazing. It's brilliant. And we sort of saw similarities where if I send a link to you and you use Vouch and you have a good experience, ideally we want you to sign up on the other side of that experience as someone who's recorded. So there's a two-sided viral piece, and we wanted his help, and I cold emailed that guy like 4 times, and now he's part of the story, which is awesome. So we started and launched this MVP to a closed beta. We had some large organizations like Culture Amp come into that beta program. We were sort of thinking, is it the right thing to do? But they were interested and had a need, so we said, look, we'll support you. And
interesting that they came in.
They were running global events at the time. Pandemic, they had the Culture First event, which is an amazing event, but Europe, APAC, Australia, US and other regions. So they sort of said, how are we going to get content for this event from speakers and people that are involved, and Vouch was a good solve. It was kind of just a really nice alignment. And they've been amazing. They've been with us since day one. They're a paying customer now, 30 people in the product, lots of feedback all the time. So
there's a lot of manufactured serendipity in there, which I'm a big believer of.
Absolutely, I think it's a mixture of hustle and serendipity. Right?
Manufactured serendipity is just a really posh way of saying making your own luck, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I want to go back to when you said you cold emailed someone 4 times.
Yeah.
What did you write? What got him over the line? How did you do that? I reckon there's a lot of people going, oh, how did he? It's great that he did it 4 times. Just keep sending the same email. Tell us what you did, because that's a really interesting achievement to do.
Yeah, I mean, I actually listened to a podcast where Oji was on there. His name's Oji Desiu, wonderful guy. He was talking about what they did at Calendar to scale this viral piece. You know, they needed to make the booking experience seamless because that's how you break that inertia down. I thought it was really interesting. I sent it to the team, the early team that we had. And then actually one of our sort of early other advisors said, why don't you just email this dude and see what happens? And it was brilliant advice because I just emailed him and he didn't respond. I tweeted at him and I've got like 150 followers, which didn't go that far. And then I sent him another email and said, hey, rather than committing to doing something else, why don't I just take you through what we're thinking? And if it's interesting, great. If not, we don't have to speak again. I basically gave him an out.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, I'm happy to have a chat.
How cool.
Yeah, it was good.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about where you're at now. So, big announcement. What was it? 2 days ago? 3 days ago? How long ago was it?
Yeah, I think it was officially 2 days ago.
Yesterday?
Yeah, I'm losing track of the day. Yeah. We've been in the studio for days.
I've literally been here for months. They don't let me out.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. What's happened? What have you done? Because I think it's huge. For where you are in your journey, I think it's massive.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I mean, credit to our team who's got us there. I think
it's not easy.
No, at the early team, it's been a lot of work over the last, I'd say, sort of 14 months of just grind, really, to get to this point. And a lot of it was getting the engine going, you know, like with push. And then you sort of get that, you know, you get the viral piece happening. But so we raised 8 million Aussie from 2 co-leads, so our innovation fund in Australia and Stage 2 Capital in the US, both brilliant.
8 million's a big run. Is that a pre-seed? Is that a Series A? What are they calling it?
That's our seed. I think the naming conventions are
the only one I didn't say.
Day by day, yeah. It's our seed, and it's kind of a validation of, look, you've got this product out, you've got early market validation, you've got revenue growing, and sort of let's go and accelerate now and really build out the product and the team and sort of the go-to-market, and that's the function of that. The environment at the moment is interesting. Like it's challenging. I think there's a lot of stuff happening globally and in Australia. Yes. So, you know, for us the timing is good, but you know, we're also sort of not looking to spend that, you know.
Blow it.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think like
I thought we were going out after this.
Yeah. Can have a beer. But I think for us there was always a plan to sort of say like, hey, can we ramp up, you know, go to market but in an organic way, build our own content channels, SEO, you know, PR, all that sort of stuff. From the team, we've got 75% of the team is product engineering and design. Yeah. We're sort of product led, which is a buzzword these days, but really it means that your product has to work and do the selling for you. We don't have a sales team. So people need to come in, they need to experience it, be able to use it themselves, get themselves to value, and then hopefully upgrade or at least keep using us. But the product is really the sales channel at the moment. So
you don't get 8 million in funding if you're a sales-led startup, from what I see. When I see it, obviously both. I see it, and there's benefits to both, and there's no right or wrong, and it depends on the product. But product-led businesses tend to get bigger raises because it's there, it's ready to go. It's just a matter of getting the team then to get it out there, right? As opposed to, it's easier to take a product to market than it is to build a product.
Yeah, I think in a sense, it's a balance, right? I don't know if product-led and sales are mutually exclusive. Like I come from a seller background as well. I think you need sales and human intervention to make sure that people have a great experience. But I think the days of sort of like jamming products at people that aren't a good fit are probably over. So product-led means that someone should be able to come in and learn enough about you to get themselves to a point where they want to sign up, they're interested. I do feel like it's inherently sometimes more fundable because your unit economics are better. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars initially getting the product to market and scaling it through a sales team. But I think it's a balance. I think it's tricky to say they're mutually exclusive. But ultimately, like we chose that because probably a lot of what I learned at Canva was that if you build this sort of incredible free product that is valuable and people are excited to recommend it to others, then there's sort of inherent value in that from word of mouth. So
absolutely. Yeah. Let's talk about something you touched on earlier. You got some of your funding from the US. Yeah. Something that is even more difficult to do than getting funding from Australia. So I'm intrigued as to how and why that occurred. You know, what led you to those particular people and how you actually went about getting someone from the US to fund you at such a very, very early stage.
Yeah, I mean, so I think stage 2, luckily for us, we're willing to take a bet on the potential. I think it's an early investment for them. We were introduced to them through our innovation fund, so they sort of had worked together previously on a couple of organizations, a couple of startups. So They're incredible. I mean, I guess their founder is Mark Roberge, who was the CRO of HubSpot, the sixth person at HubSpot. He scaled them to 100 million in revenue.
He did all right.
He did well, yeah. And then there's also Jay, who's his partner, who's pretty incredible as well from the VC side of things. So we felt immediately like they understood where we were heading. They sort of understood what we wanted to build. Also, their network of people that fund them, their LPs, are pretty much our entire target market, which was good. So that was a big pulling for us, was can we go and get distribution quite quickly through them?
Yeah.
I think US is interesting. It's hard. You know, we were lucky that we were sort of, you know, we had a lot of inbound interest, and I think people are interested in video and what that space is emerging as. But we also had a lot of conversations where it was too early, we weren't quite right. So I think we just wanted to find the right partner that was there for us. So
okay, how long did it take? When did you start? I mean, I know fundraising is a continuous thing once you started, but if you sort of think about when you really started to amp it up, what was that? A 6-8 month process?
Yeah, it was probably 6 months.
Yeah.
I flew to the States actually in sort of like mid-COVID, like it was
masked up.
Yeah, pretty much. My wife's family from there, so she hasn't seen them for years, so we wanted to go back, and sort of coincided with the fundraising process. You know, we were lucky to be able to go do that. I think, you know, it was probably 6 months, 3 months of intense conversations, lots of pitching back and forth, spending time looking at the numbers, and then it was a close, and then sort of the announcement. But yeah, it's a grueling process. You don't want to be doing it all the time.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that the LPs were your target market. So describe your target market to me.
Yeah, I mean, as of today, it's B2B teams and sort of companies from, you know, small to medium to large. We have a pretty large, wide TAM that we serve. It's great. Yeah, it's good. You know, I think for us, the video testimonial piece is aimed directly at marketing and sales teams. So how do you capture the voice of the customer and bring that into your channels to build trust and to drive revenue? But then we've sort of been pulled in these amazing tangents by everyone. So things like recruiting or employer onboarding, like bringing people into the business through video and making them feel heard and welcome from day one. You know, updates, team communications, like sales teams are using us to, you know, send back and forth content and to do education. So it's kind of like, what can video unlock at scale? And that's kind of where we land. So it's, you know, it's firmly aimed at sort of B2B teams, but we do have this sort of wide TAM as well.
Yeah, we need to look at your product. You know, the more you talk about it, the more I'm thinking I need to get you onto Polina, our head of ops, to look at this, because we use it so much, but we use it probably in an archaic manner compared to how you're presenting it now. Yeah, so tell me about the product in terms of where are you sitting today, and what's your sort of product? Are you changing the product? Is it about growth now for the next 12, 18 months in terms of customers, or is it continuously changing and pushing that product roadmap as well?
Yeah, I mean, we have a huge, ambitious roadmap. It's punchy, but I mean, video is hard, and then when you bring it just into the browser, it becomes more challenging because you've got to work across multiple browsers, devices, phones, laptops, whatever it might be. So I think optimizing that's really important. If someone can't record on Vouch in a great seamless experience, then the whole product's sort of bottleneck. So that's really important to get right. Think about editing and sharing of that content, integrating it into tools that people use every day. So there's a lot of tooling that people have.
So many tools.
So many tools.
Platforms.
They need to talk to each other and work in harmony. And then we think about sort of enterprise things like workspaces. So for instance, you know, one of our customers is Canva. They have multiple teams in the product. They don't necessarily all want to see each other's video assets. You might want to break them out into workspaces or international locations. So each team has its own access. I think looking at sort of search and, you know, machine learning and how can you recommend the best video or clip things automatically for people. There's so much stuff coming down the pipe, but that's the kind of the big ambitious product piece. But we're pretty firmly centered in this sort of video space and video collection space, so bringing it all together for people.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about you. So you left everyone's dream job to start your business. You've had a good run. I'm sure it hasn't been easy. One of the things I always want to talk to people about, because I find too many podcasts just celebrate the wonderful and easiness of doing this, and it's anything but. Yeah. What's been the hardest thing since you started? And what's been probably, you can combine these or they can be separate answers, and what's been the thing that probably caught you off guard and went wrong? Because that happens almost hourly, as I'm sure you're aware. So yeah, give us some of the sort of nitty gritty stuff that's been hard, so that people really do understand that, you know, achieving what you have achieved, and even though it's such early days, it's really hard to do, and I want people to understand that.
Yeah, I think there's the sort of generic stuff that probably everyone goes through, which is like, you're working super hard. There's not that many hands on deck in the beginning, so you're doing everything, and you're probably not skilled up to do all of those things. Like, you know, like so you're not skilled up to. You kind of have to learn a new skill every day to be able to push the business forward, because you just don't have the specialists in the room in the early days to do that. I think for me, as like a first time founder of a business, there is a whole bunch of imposter syndrome or whatever you want to call it that comes up
That never goes away.
Always, yeah. Like
19 years I've been running businesses. It's worse now than it was at the beginning, if that makes you feel any better.
That makes you feel much better, yeah.
Yeah, and how do you deal with that? Because it's a topic everyone talks about a lot, imposter syndrome. And I think people who haven't been through it don't necessarily understand how hard it is to actually overcome, because it just keeps creeping back all the time.
Yeah, like I don't think people that start, people look up to as entrepreneurs or business people started the same, right? It's the same point, everyone had to learn. I think it's about sort of giving yourself the room to understand that and saying like, just get the next thing done, like just keep moving forward. That's kind of like just do the next thing, basically. Just tackle the next problem. And I think you almost, you need to bulldoze your way a little bit through it and not sort of think about it too much. It's like, you're not any less special or more special than anyone else. It's just execute, right?
Everyone's special.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, everyone's special. But I think it's just getting the next thing done. And I think I have like a wonderful wife and family that sort of like, dude, you're nothing special, but just keep executing. And
that does help.
It does help, yeah. I think you have some people that are like, look, just do the next thing, right? It's a quote that we think about a lot.
And what's caught you off guard the most about being a founder? What is the thing that you probably least expected? And it can be good or bad. We don't have to stay negative the whole way.
Yeah. I can give you both. It's a good question. I think the most positive aspect is the team that's assembling around us. I think like David and I look around and are like, it's awesome. Like it's great people working with us at this point. And, not that long ago, it was just us sort of with a laptop, just trying to make sure that something didn't break for the first customer. And now you're sort of, sometimes look around and I see meetings happening without me in them, and then there's projects moving forward. It's awesome. Happens? Yeah. And I think it's testament to the people that we brought into the business. So like the most positive thing is seeing that team grow and sort of people buying into what the product can become, the vision, supporting each other. Like even just grabbing lunch with each other is a nice thing to see when you're so small initially, and then it expands out. Yeah. So I think the team has been amazing to see assemble. The negative, I guess, when things don't work for customers, it's super frustrating. You kind of almost feel like you haven't delivered on what you've been able to sell. Take it personally? I do. I do, yeah. I think especially...
I think most founders do. They do. It wounds you almost a little bit.
Yeah, correct. And it's like you are kind of, this is your thing, right? This is you. It's a manifestation of what you wanted to build, and you've gone to someone and sort of put yourself on the line and said, hey, it's going to work. Like it's, you can run your global events on it, or you can go and sort of send a link to your most important customers and make sure they have a good experience. If that doesn't happen for any reason, then we go into like super hard fix it mode, like drop everything and make sure it works, because it's probably sort of more us, David and I, just like
that's good,
get it done. But it sucks. So
okay, now you started in COVID, right? A lot of the questions we ask people is, how did you cope when COVID came along? Well, we don't really need to do that with you. So I guess I'm going to ask you almost the opposite. Is we're really, and we're not coming out of COVID, I think it'll be here forever, but we're getting back to a sense of normality. I thought this the other day. I flew to Brisbane, I went to a restaurant, I did all these little things. I hadn't worn a mask, and I walked into a restaurant and there were tables everywhere, there weren't any stickers saying you can't stick. We are getting as close back to, I know it's crazy, it's so exciting. We're getting back to what life was like before. There's obviously been a few changes in terms of how people work, and obviously video has become huge, which is great. Yeah. But how have you found that transition? Because I'm now talking to founders who struggled with it going the other way. They're now struggling with it going the other way. They don't really know what to do. They're going, okay, well, we could just stay as we are. Is that okay? Are we allowed to do that? Or do we have to go back? How have you found that?
Yeah, I think in terms of return to work and how you get people back.
Return to work, culture, all those things, because it's hard to build a culture remotely. You can do it, there's no question. Yeah. Video helps an enormous amount. Yeah. But I'm just intrigued. And are you coming into the office? Have you got an office? Are you doing off-sites? There's a lot of different aspects now.
Yeah, I mean, personal opinion, I think I'm pretty bullish early days that you need to get people together if you can. I think, building a culture, building trust, understanding each other is going to be easier in person. It's just always better to be able to build those relationships. We have a flexible policy where sort of like, it's a bit of a choose your own adventure at Vouch. We have people with many kids, young families, starting families, studying. Yep. For us, it's about how do you integrate hitting the objectives of the business into your existence, and they need to live pretty side by side. Yep. We sort of filter for that in when we bring people into the business, want to make sure that people are comfortable building their own schedules and flexible. At the same time, when we are together, I personally feel like things sort of are more fluid, and so the trust builds a lot quicker. So we're trying to find a balance at the moment between how do you bring people in, and we do have an office in Darlinghurst, we have a space. Yep. It's collaborative. A lot of what we're building is sort of visual, and video is very visual, so getting together and looking at that stuff and testing things together is important. So I think it's hard. It's not easy to navigate. I think some people went fully remote, and then how do you want to peel that back, like back into the office, or do you say everyone stays remote? I think it's a conversation that's happening a lot in companies.
It's tricky. Like, we had a lot of people move.
Yeah.
They've gone, further out.
Yeah.
But interestingly, they're wanting to come in, maybe not as much as they were. I mean, we always had a mixed, but we got people coming in maybe once a week rather than twice, or once every 2 weeks. But I agree. I think people need to come together. Not constantly, but I think it's a very healthy thing. We are humans. We need that kind of interaction. It's kind of built into our DNA.
We had a lot of feedback that when we were fully remote during periods of lockdown, people felt super isolated. They were just sort of struggling with not being able to at least like engage. And I think as much as those like sort of like Zoom team building things are nice, like it just doesn't it's not the same as sitting down together.
Yeah, there's only a certain amount of times you can have a strange guy come onto your Zoom and ask you pub questions.
Yeah,
so everyone just gets a bit sick of it really quickly.
Exactly right. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about, I guess, in terms of the culture that you've got and what it's like to be working at Vouch. If someone's thinking, I'm going to come in as a customer, let's do that first. What am I going to get? If I'm a customer, I'm sitting there, I want to utilize video more, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to them with you guys? Do you have people that can talk to them how your product works and how it can affect different things, or have you got very set things? Give us a little bit of that sort of explanation.
Yeah, I think that it's a horizontal product. So we do have, myself and sort of, we've just made the first hire on the team that can be a bit more customer facing. I was hacking away at it for 18 months. But it's very collaborative from a customer perspective. Like a lot of people get themselves through, and we send emails to most customers that come in and say, "Do you need a hand?" And
you can self-sign up, I assume.
Yeah, it's all self-serve, and I think I'd say probably 60-70% of our customers don't want to talk to us, which is great. They just want to do their thing, and they come in if they need anything. The other side of that, we do have larger organizations that want to think about how does this scale across the team, and they are keen to look at a demo and talk about sort of more custom integrations.
Yeah.
Culturally, with customers, we're pretty open and direct. We sort of almost beg for feedback. Like if you're using the product, there's feedback channels in product. We send a vouch to customers and get feedback. We use our own product a lot. I think we bring a lot of that into our team. Like we will literally bring it straight into a customer feedback channel, and then it has to be dissected by the product team and brought into the experience.
That's good.
It's really important to us. I mean, it's kind of the DNA of how we built it, and so we want to continue doing that. I think it gets easy to stop talking to customers. It becomes easy just to ship stuff and build.
Yes.
Culturally, Vouch, I think the main thing that comes through for us is probably authenticity. Like the team, everyone is sort of trying to bring themselves to work, and we have a real range of personalities, but everyone gets a say. The first thing we say to everyone in onboarding is, hey, if you notice something wrong with the product or you're not quite sure about how we built something, question. Like you can even ask David and I. We want people to sort of push back, and we have like early junior employees that are telling Dave and I that we're doing the wrong thing.
Stuffed it up.
Yeah, that's great. Like
it's all the early junior ones, the only ones who have the balls to do that.
Love it. Yeah. Dave and I sometimes will just like text each other and be like, love that. I think we need more of that.
You do need more of that. It's good.
We had one, and I won't know what it is, but came in and sort of did like almost like a total analysis of the whole product, and was like, these are all the things that are wrong. And
wow, you know who you are.
Yeah, but no, it was brilliant. It was amazing that she took the whole team through it, including senior engineers, David, myself.
That's great.
And everyone was like, you're absolutely right. Like, we need to go and fix these things. And I think it was a great indication of someone that could come in and sort of say, hey, like, I've got a voice. I think it's important. And look, we didn't implement everything. Some of it we talked about, but just seeing that in action was awesome. So kind of just like that authentic and direct feedback piece is really important at Vouch as well.
Okay. So you're obviously going to grow now. You've just got money for growth to scale. Yeah. Why would someone want to come and work at Vouch? If they're out there and they're just sort of looking around going, I really want to move. I'm thinking about moving. I'm in customer success. I'm in CX. I'm a designer. I'm a product person. I'm a tech guy, whatever. What's the overall reason someone would come and work for you guys?
Yeah, I guess that's a big challenge to solve. Like, how do you make video, which is traditionally complex, simple, scalable, easy, amazing for organizations? How do you bring video into an organization in a seamless way?
Yep.
I think the big problem, especially for engineers, is like it's a kind of emerging technology. There's a lot you can do with it. It's not an easy problem to solve. So I think the challenge for the engineers is awesome. On the customer side, we have amazing organizations jumping in already, and we do have sort of direct contact with the Canvas, Shopify's, Atlassians of the world. We talk to them quite often.
Just a couple of minutes there.
Yeah, to pick those back up. Yeah, but it's on the flip side of that, we also have small organizations that are using Vouch, especially the testimonial piece, to sort of drive their revenue forward. Like people are sort of delighted when they can get a customer on camera talking about how wonderful their business is, even a small business, and get that out to the public. It's a really nice feeling. So I think it's a fun product. Our brand is fun. Like the way we've built user experience should feel light and fun and enjoyable.
That's good.
It's also like a heavy product to work
Where's the
on.
name come from, actually?
Vouch.
Yeah, I meant to ask you that at the beginning. I completely forgot.
Yeah. Well, I guess like testimonials was our first foray into the market, and
makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like it
took me a little while.
We'll sync it up. But it's a kind of like what's the ultimate endorsement for someone else, right?
Yeah.
Vouch, so.
Fantastic. Gary, what an awesome story so far. We are definitely going to have you back on. We've got a number of guests actually coming back on soon that have been on a couple of years ago. So I really want to hear where your story goes.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for coming on. I wish you the best of luck. I won't keep you any longer because you've got a lot to do.
Brilliant.
And we'll look forward to looking for the next announcements and how you go.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.